tell us a bit about your business.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm actually here with Khalil today, but he's more the person that should ask that question to.
Yeah, well, that's you.
So yeah, I'm honestly here to just like learn. Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm here for the knowledge.
Wow.
I don't have a business in place, but I'm here to just sort of get the ball rolling.
Okay, brilliant.
Understand the basics.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Khalil.
Yeah, my name is Khalil Abdi. We have Bristol UK. So we are a small organization growing up fast. So we like to understand more about the bookkeeping.
And what software do you use? Zero, QuickBooks.
I think let's save that for later. That's one of my.
What's the commonality?
Commonality. Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Useful fashion.
Doesn't that count as hardware?
My name is Carlos Suleiman, taxi driver. Came here to have idea about bookkeeping and business, and that's it. Knowledge.
Lexi.
I'm Alexi. I'm a creative director, cultural producer, and I'm here to learn how to be a responsible businessman, which I don't currently have those skills.
We've got Hamza. You want to just put your camera on and tell us a bit about your business? I will skip you. Kevin,
Hello, Khalil. Sibs as well. I think we've met before, but I'm from a local football team in Bristol called Phoenix Next Gen, and I've come to find out more about bookkeeping because our bookkeeping is terrible. So yeah.
Thanks for the honesty. Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Hi. My name is Kevin. I'm the operations manager for the Chinese Community Wellbeing Society. Just coming to learn a bit more. We currently have our bookkeeping outsourced, but we're looking to bring it in-house. So I'm just here to learn.
Save those costs, mate. That's good. Ryan.
Hello, guys. Hello. My business is Just Right. I've got a restaurant, and I've also got a car rental company back in Jamaica as well. All of the bookkeeping and stuff like that, I always get someone to do it, but I realize I need to learn it, so this is why I'm here at the moment.
That's cool. Thank you very much. It sounds like you've got a local business and an international business, so it'll be an interesting discussion with understanding some of you of that bookkeeping and the impacts that obviously finance has, international finance, and how you manage that. But that's definitely Audrey's trade. We've got Ajani. Johnny? Making a cup of coffee by the sound of it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Blazer. Is Blazer? Hey, Blazer. How you doing?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm a bit in a dark place. Yeah, my name is Ayan, and I have cleaning company, and I'm trying to get more involved with the accountant, the bookkeeping thing.
All right, cool. We're not gonna wait for Ajani, but we'll crack on. Is that okay? Yeah, very much. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Where's my speaker? Is that my speaker? Yes, so that's the mic. That's the mic. That's why they hear. That's why I mean mic, no speaker. Yeah, and then they see you. I'm just charging it because then I'll remove the wire. Where's the camera for them to see? Just the camera. They see you. So, no, I'll follow you. You follow me. Yeah, I'll try to sit. Yeah, so you're what you want to do. Thank you very much. Hi everyone. Hi everyone online. My name is Olu. This is my second time coming to Black Southwest Network, and it's always a pleasure to be here working with Derek and Sibs and the rest of the team. I really appreciate what they do for the community, especially for my business as well. So yeah, many thanks to you guys. And also, I'm so excited to be here to see everyone and also to listen to what I'm going to be saying today. I've been given a very important topic to talk about. I'm going to make it interactive as much as I can. You can ask your question now, or you can keep it till later if you choose, but I think most people prefer to ask questions as they go along so they don't forget. And also, for those of you online, it would be nice for you to keep your camera on so we can get to see you and, you know, we can, I mean, it's going to be very much interactive. So it would be nice to have your camera on and see Senior, Taylor, and Johnny. I haven't got a camera or it's camera on, Ryan Dante as well. If you get a camera on, let's just, you know, so we can see yourself. First of all, bookkeeping. Does anyone understand what bookkeeping means? I mean, anyone alive? Anyone understand what bookkeeping means?
In the record of all of your ingoings and outgoings.
Absolutely. In a nutshell, that's it. I mean, if you Google the word bookkeeping, you will see so many things online, so many information, so many definitions. The bottom line is what bookkeeping stands for. What it does is just the keeping of your incoming and outgoings on a monthly basis. Right. Just trying to move to the next slide. Here we go.
So just press the camera.
That's right. So you can see my definition on my screen. There's so many definitions online, but I went for the easiest one that I think people will understand. And the definition is a process of recording the business financial transaction into organized account on a daily basis. So if you buy something today, you record it. How you record it, we can talk about that later. But buy something today, or for those of you who are selling, you sell something today, you have to record it. If you don't record it, then you're not doing justice to bookkeeping.
Today. Record it today.
Today. Right? You record it today. And the reason why I say today is if you don't record it today, right? That's the most pragmatic way of doing things. If you don't record it today, what happens tomorrow? You might you forget. You might even lose the evidence, you might lose the record. So why don't you just do it today? You might, I mean, on a smaller scale, you might get away with it. Imagine Tesco's did not record their transaction today. The amount of people that bought from them and or the amount of suppliers that supplied them, they would lose it. It's difficult to keep track. So it's very important. Even if you don't want to go on a 24-hour basis, you can do it on a daily basis or weekly basis or a monthly basis. But very important, you need to have record of what you buy and what you sell. Also at the bottom, it involves preparing source document. When I say source document, your invoices, your paperwork, your bank statements, your purchases, your receipt, putting them all together and recording them on a monthly, weekly, daily basis. I made that the last point at the bottom, I made it very big so everyone can see. I said it is one of, if not, as far as I'm concerned, everyone has a different opinion about this, but as far as I'm concerned, I believe is the core component of a successful business. If you dig into any company that has folded up over years, small size, big size, if you really read into it and unveil what has happened to the company, it's either fraud from the back of not keeping records. So they're trying to hide their tracks, so I don't want to keep records. Some people also do not do bookkeeping because, if I keep the records, there'll be evidence that I've done something, then I don't want to pay tax. So I'd rather not keep any record.
So I can tell my accountant or the government that I haven't done anything, so I'm not going to keep my books. So it's very, very important. I believe it's the bedrock of every business and every successful business, bookkeeping itself. Does anyone have any question online?
Just unmute and ask your question, it's fine.
Yeah. Go on to the next slide. How do you keep your records?
Sorry.
How do you keep your records? There are different ways in you keeping your records in your business. There are two ways. One is the digital method. Now we are in a digital world, so everybody's moving towards that system. I spoke to somebody earlier on talking about Sage 50. Sage 50 is more like a desktop software many years ago, but now Sage has upgraded their system into what we call Sage Online, which means you can actually, access your Sage record remotely at anywhere. It's all saved in the cloud. That's where everyone is moving on to now. So we have the digital method and we have the manual method. So I'm going to just briefly talk about the digital method. So you might have heard about Xero. You can Google it. It's an online accounting software which you can use for your business. To use that, you might have to have a basic understanding of double entry accounting. If you haven't got knowledge of double entry accounting, you could struggle with it. But there are some cash-based accounting techniques that you could use for Xero. Same as QuickBooks, same as KPO, and same as Sage Online. And there's another one called Free Agent. It used to be free, but now it's not free anymore, apparently. It used to be free, but it's not free anymore. But I think sometimes, if you bank with NatWest, don't quote me here, they used to give it out for free. I'm not sure whether they still give it out.
There's another one I think that they told me about. I don't know if it's still called that.
What's that called?
I can't remember. I got an email.
There are different ones. There's a one for the farmers, it's called Farmer Accounts, and it's for farmers. So a different one. So you can Google them online and find which one will suit your business, cost-wise, efficiency-wise. But most of them are cloud-based, so you just log online, you use a password, and you can have access to it. You can do that anywhere in the world. So you don't get stuck on the computer as you used to do it many, many years ago, whereby the accounting system is downloaded on an accounting laptop or a computer. So that's the opportunity we get with the cloud accounting software these days. And as I said, neither of them are free. You have to pay for them. So you have to put that in mind. The costs vary. We need to contact the provider, depending on what you want to do. Some people use the bookkeeping system for sales and raising invoices alone. Some people use it for making bank payments. Some use it for making bank analysis. Some use it to run their payroll. So it depends on your business need and the size of your business. But it's very important to consider one of these softwares, because though you're going to pay for it, but the benefit you get from it outweighs the cost. So it's something you should definitely consider. Now, as I said, I'm not working for any of this company. I'm not advertising them. So these are free information. You can Google them. So it's all down to you. And definitely there are more and many more softwares than these on my slide. The second method, depending on your business size, is a manual method. So the manual method will include, paper records, keeping your papers, having a file for yourself, which is very important. Some people prefer the manual method due to age, due to lifestyle. Some people are not very, very comfortable with a computer. That's not a problem. It's not the end of the world, but you still need to keep your records. So you can do the paper version, whereby you buy a file and you file them in a file. Another option I've advised people in the past if they want to use the paper record is to, you can get an envelope. You can buy 12 lots of envelopes, very big ones, A3 size, and name them January to December. Every transaction, every purchase, every sales you make every month, you record it and you put it in that envelope. Keep it under your bed. That's the month done. The following month you do the same. So at the end of the year, you got 12 lots of envelopes with all your accounting records in it. So that is presentable. You have the evidence to support it, and you can give that to your accountant at the end of the year. So that's a method you can use, which is very, very easy. A lot of people don't pay attention to it because you buy things today, you put it in your wallet, you put it in your purse, you lose it. not only are you technically committing an offense as far as the government is concerned, because as a business owner and as a director of a company, you have a responsibility to keep accounting records. Additionally, you also change in your business, because what we've seen from our clients and from my experience is people pay the wrong amount of tax, not because they've earned too much, it's because they're not keeping good records, because you don't have the invoices to support your claim. So why not keep those invoices? You bought a computer. If you don't have the invoice, you can't remember. It takes time, because the way the accounting system works and tax works is you submit all this information to the tax man about 21 months after you set up your company. So it's about 9 months after the end of your financial year, every 21 months. You can't remember what happened 21 months ago. So you need to really understand that concept. You're not submitting your tax or your account on a monthly basis. You're doing it in arrears. You understand what I mean? So you're doing it in arrears. So it's very important you keep record of all these things. Otherwise, you are really going to lose out. The second option is Excel. So for those of you who are comfortable with Excel, you can have Excel workbook saved into the cloud. You can have a Google Sheet saved onto the cloud, and you can use that to record your income and outgoings every month through your bank statement. So this is a sample I think will be very important to you. So if there's anyone online who wants to take a copy of this sample, you could. So this is from Excel. You can have a table like this in Excel. On each column, you can have a date, customer or supplier's name on the column, amount paid in, amount paid out, and the purpose of the transaction. So this is going to be an extract from your bank statements. So if you have a business account, money in and out, and you're using your business account for business purposes only, then you can have this in a tabular form. It's all part of bookkeeping. So you know, so at the end of the month, you can actually go through the file. If you're comfortable with Excel, you can see how much money did I make this month? How much did I spend? A lot of people undervalue that question. It's extremely important. So you're looking at it, for example, I mean, this is just a dummy one. On the 6th of October, payment to Mr. J Blog for £500 for rent. You know, that is there. Unfortunately, in this case, this is just you tabulating all your expenditure. So if I'm your accountant, I'll be asking you, can you provide the evidence of that rent? So you should have that supporting document on the side, either in a file, in an envelope, in a shoebox, kept somewhere safely. Any question online so far? Anyone? Any questions?
I'd say the benefit I've seen for the online part is that it syncs with your bank account.
It does.
So for some transactions that you may not remember, if you use your card, then you can say, oh yeah, I used this £2. This £2 was for general expenses.
Absolutely.
And then you link that with the category. So compared to like manual ones, where you really actually remember what you spent it on.
Absolutely.
So,
very, very good point. So as I said initially, two options that digital method, which is what Steve is referring to, and that seems to be the way forward for most people now, depending on the size of your business. Some people still prefer the manual method for genuine reasons. Now, I really can't be bothered. I don't trust the internet. I can't remember password. I like the book of prime entry, they call it many years ago, the ledger account, and they can deal with it accurately and appropriately. So it's your call, but in my position, from my experience, and from an accounting point of view, it's cheaper to deal with an accountant if you have your records electronically and use a digital method rather than the manual method. This is going to take time to process the invoices. Any questions so far?
Is it cheaper?
If you were to take a monthly subscription for something or whatever, to have that workflow and then save money on the accountant, or is it more?
Yeah, it is cheaper if you have an accounting software that does the processing for you. So the good thing about this, most of this accounting software, they have this form of artificial intelligence embedded to it, whereby it syncs to your bank account and it does what we call a bank feed for your bank account. So you connect it to your bank account And every other day you can go onto your accounting software and click on the refresh button. So what it does, it downloads your bank statement into your accounting software. And at the beginning of your use of your accounting software, you can set rules to it to say, if you do a download, anything that has fuel or Tesco fuel, can you account it into my fuel accounts? Anything that has to do with, let's say, Mr. James, that's me paying my rent. So it does the accounting and the bookkeeping for you, you know, behind closed doors. It does everything for you. So at the end of the financial year, you already got a very, very clear, what we call a trial balance, which is second to the next step to finalize the accounts. So you save a lot of money doing that. But if you haven't done that all through the year, so what you're telling the accountant to do is to go through 1 year worth of records within about a month. So that's going to really cost you money. So it's your choice. It saves everyone's time.
Does it charge on like workload, or does it charge on general, like a monthly subscription you pay once and that's it? Or
You mean the software?
yeah.
So it's every software is different, but I think you pay on a monthly basis.
Right.
Yeah, but in terms of the download and bank fee, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
But the subscription, depending on what you need. Yeah. So you will need to look into each one of the softwares.
Most people would have problems with all computer packages and how you actually use them. They will want to go on YouTube.
That's right.
And set it all up.
Yeah.
Would your accountant be able to set it up for you?
That's right.
Yeah.
So yes, very good question again. The accountant can set it up. If you engage me, I can set it up for you. It's not a problem. What also happens is sometimes in as much as we encourage, which I will talk about in a minute, most of our clients to be familiar with your bookkeeping. We're not trying to pass the burden to you as well, because we want you to focus on your business. But at the same time, we want you to be aware of what's really going on in your business. So the bookkeeping itself, you can still outsource that, which we're going to be talking about the benefit of outsourcing to an accountant. But you own the license of the bookkeeping. So the accountant itself manages the bookkeeping every month. And we will talk about the benefit of you having that bookkeeping on a monthly basis. So you can actually outsource that. So it's still not really a burden to you where you have to worry about, I need to do this every day or every other day. Your accountant can do that for you. But the fact that we have an electronic system in place that manages all your books in and out is a very, very good, it's a very, very good way of doing business.
Kind of.
Yeah, no,
I was just wondering, obviously the dates for the tax returns are specific. Do you recommend a specific date to do your books? Are they those dates, or is it a specific, a different date of the year?
The date of tax returns for an individual. So looking at the 1st of January every year, after the end of the financial year, your books technically should be done on a monthly basis. You know, the last thing you want to do is to bring in your books quarter to midnight, deadline day, or a month before deadline day. The accountant will do it, will probably charge you the same amount they've been charging you, but its advantage to yourself is, which I will talk more in a bit, is that if you are a taxpayer and you have a tax to pay, you would like to know about your taxes many months before the tax payment is due. So if you bring your records for your accounts to be done at the beginning of January, when the deadline to make payment for taxes is on the 31st of January, and you have a tax bill of about $3,000, you're really not going to be happy, are you? So it's better because the tax window opens after the end of the financial year, which is on the 5th of April. So from the 6th of April up until the 31st of January the following year is the window for you to put your records together. So it's always of an advantage to you to do this early. And if you keep it monthly, come the end of the financial year, you have all your records neat and tidy. And you can present it to your accountant. It does it in plenty of time. It lets you know your tax liability in plenty of time. And you can plan ahead. And this is very important when it comes to cash flow in the business as well. Because some people go out of business because of the tax burden. And not that they can't even afford to pay the tax. It's because they haven't planned themselves. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Does that answer your question?
I was kind of asking, because obviously like keeping the books is like what you should be doing, but I was asking what specific dates would you say are like advantageous to be like kind of like specifically, this is like your financial year that you will be given to them. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, so like I said, the 5th of April is when everything needs to be submitted to HMRC. So if depending on how much turnover you've got, so if your turnover is 3,000, well, you've done it less than a day, right? But if your turnover is 100 grand, then like the accountant needs more time to do. And if you haven't been doing it month by month, you've got a lot of work to do. So, but you already have
6th of April to when?
So the UK tax, UK tax, is from the 6th of April every year up until the 5th of April the following year. So that's the window to do your business. So after the 5th of April every year, that's the end of the financial year. So the government says from that 6th of April up until the 31st of January the following year is a window for you to submit your accounts and pay your taxes. So if I were you,
this is, I guess, what I'm wondering about. So, like, if you're submitting it in January,
after the end of the financial year,
for the next year, are you giving them those months between January and April?
So you're not giving
the last year.
You're not giving the government the month. You're not giving the government any of your account. You're giving it to your accountants to prepare for you.
Say like 21.
But that's what I'm confused about is like the first. So April to April. January, if you give it in January, there's months that you're not giving.
No, it's not, because when you start out, like you said, 20 odd months, isn't it? Before you pay. So you go a full financial year, and then you go around to January, you've got to submit for the previous financial year.
Let's use numbers to be very clear. So we're in 2022.
I understand now.
We're in 2022 now, so in financial year, we're in a new financial year. It started on the 6th of April, and it's going to run up until the 5th of April next year. So that's 1 year done. So everything you've done in that year, you then need to start, preparing your accounts. You then have from the 5th of April next year, up until the 31st of January 2024 to submit.
I see.
And you can do it whenever you want. But what we're saying is, if you've been keeping your books every month, you don't have the burden to worry about during that window. Because when that window comes next year to put your account together, you are accounting for what has happened 1 month ago. If you don't have the records, you will definitely struggle.
So my question simplified, which you guys have answered, is like, when is the best time to do it, which is probably as soon as you have it available.
As soon as you have it available. So I would say at the end of every month, if you want to do it on a monthly basis, at the end of every month, within the first 10 days of the new month, you get your books done, and you're done for that month. The next month, give yourself, like, I'm going to spend a couple of hours every week, with number, maybe the first 10 days of the following month, I get it done, I get it out of the way.
The thing with waiting too long,
that's
right, is that if you are on a working tax credits, by the time you get a letter from HMR, from Department of the DWP, you're not going to know why. And then they're going to say you earned too much, therefore we need to claw this back. Or you earned too less, then you need to claw this back because your company's one. You haven't worked that out. So the sooner you do it, the sooner you're on page with everyone. And for those who have a non-for-profit or a for-profit, if you were to go and apply for a house and you haven't done your books, then now all of a sudden you can't apply for it because they want to see your turnover.
Absolutely.
So it's much better just to get it done than to wait for the whole 12 months.
Absolutely. For those people on booking tax credit and tax credit, you tend to submit your account around July, and a lot of people run around during that time to see how can you get it done. And you really want to get it done right, not asking the accountant to get it done for you within the next, 24 hours, just going to submit it tomorrow. You really skip it. All right. So moving on to the next thing. So bookkeeping, we've talked about softwares you can use and what you should be doing. So now let's talk about the habits you should really have. Getting into the nitty-gritty of things. The first fundamental thing is having a separate business bank account. A lot of people do business and they use their personal bank accounts. That's an abomination. It's even illegal. Usually when you own a limited company, if you have a company and you don't have a separate bank account, you're committing a financial crime, right? I mean, you could be prosecuted for that because what happens is your company is a separate entity to yourself. So there's what we call entity concept in accounting. Your company is a legal separate entity registered with Companies House, and you as a person, you are just a director and a shareholder of the company. That's fine, but that doesn't mean you should turn the business bank account to your personal accounts. So it's very, very important if you're running a company, a CIC, a limited company by shares of guarantee, a charity, a separate bank account. If you are self-employed, it is also recommended if you're self-employed. It is not mandatory, but it's extremely recommended because if you need to go for business finance and the business and the bank ask for your bank details and they start seeing your business bank account, they start seeing petty expenses in it, you really don't have trust in the transaction. So it's very, very important to separate your personal affairs away from your business. You can pay yourself, not a problem, but 2 separate bank accounts. Very, very key, extremely key. I can't really emphasize on this enough. It's very important. So if anyone is here that has one bank account for their personal business and the same one for their personal life, then I would definitely advise you to think about it and go and get a new bank account as soon as possible.
And I think we found a lot of this during COVID.
Yes.
Is that people that they didn't have a business account, they were paying themselves in a personal account.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get any of the benefit.
National insurance, isn't it?
No. What was it? They didn't get like what's the benefit when you're not in work?
Job seeker allowance, nothing tax credit.
That's not even
Universal credit.
Yes, universal credit. Yeah. So all the people that were paying themselves on their personal accounts, they did not get the universal credit money. Because when it was looked, they said, but you've got all this other money. Then they're arguing, no, that's my business, but I made a loss. You're arguing a loss discussion because you meant to have a separate business account, even if you're a sole trader.
Yeah.
So all of those things will impact any claims that you have if you have one account. They need to be separate. Just adding on that, but if you're on 16 hours and your mom or whatever, they need to be completely separate. Otherwise, it will cause nightmares.
These are the things we see, when we do accounting people, when we consult with people and businesses. And it's very common among, I've seen few companies doing this, small companies, and they've gone to correct it, but it's very, very common among self-employed people. I wouldn't mention, the trade, but, it could be your block down the road that does anything. They just cash in the money in their personal bank account, but it's really not a very good practice. And for a limited company as well, if you're taking such money, as a matter of fact, we treat that as a loan to yourself. Because remember, the company and yourself are two separate entities. So any money you take that doesn't belong to, that is not a salary or a dividend from the company, then it has to be a loan. You really don't want to be in that position, getting a loan from the company because there are tax consequences to it. So bank account, definitely. Then purchase recording, as I said, when you get your invoices, you buy things. If you're into, like gentleman that said, Ryan that said is into is a restaurateur, is into food and restaurant. Whenever you buy things from your suppliers, you keep the invoices. You can get a file, you can get a shoebox, you can date them regularly, put a date on it, and just record them. You can record them alphabetically. So there's a file you can get on Amazon that has different bindings on it, and the bindings are binded alphabetically A to Z. So you can buy that. So we buy something from, let's say, Booker, start with B, you put it in B. You staple it, you put it in B. So if you're looking for an invoice that you just made from Booker, you just have to go to B. So anything that has to do with B are all in that binding. If you buy something from Amazon, it goes in A. If you buy something from Tesco's, it goes in T. So it's just little things. You can have the file in your office, in your home office, and it can be easily be traceable. and it's very, very important. Sales recording as well, including raising of invoices. You can use a digital method, which we talked about, the online software, and you can use a manual method. You can buy a little, receipt and sales invoice online, whereby when you provide services to somebody, you give them a manual invoice, a manual receipt, you write on it with a carbon copy, and you issue that. But the problem with that is, it could get lost, it could get damaged, it could get missing, anything could happen to it. If you have kids at home, they could step on it, they could pour drink on it, and it get completely damaged, and we then lose the integrity of the information. So those are the habits you really need to keep. Making payments as well. So for those of you that make payments to your suppliers, I'll definitely encourage you to pay in time, understand your payment date. If it's 30 days, you agree with your suppliers, pay them in time. We are sales as well, I did put debtors management. If you don't invoice appropriately, if people don't pay you in time, how would you know? Because a lot of these fall through the crack. You'll be surprised by the amount of people that owe some business owners, but they can't even remember because they don't keep the record. And that's you tying down cash. And you won't really know this is what's affecting my business growth. Because a lot of people out there owes me loads of money, but I can't track it. Some of them have paid me partly. I can't really reconcile the outstanding balance.
Yeah. We saw a lot of that in lockdown.
It did happen during lockdown.
Yeah, where businesses that were just about to close, and other businesses were like, I've got £10,000. People that owe me money, but they're not gonna give me money. So what some people were using is, I've got this 10,000 invoices that I'm owed. So I will have this 10. I now need 30,000 from the bank because I have this 10 in promise. And people are getting out to the bank of the old invoices,
As an example, during COVID, I had a landlord that had an outstanding, promise note of about 25 grand. And he couldn't reconcile it. He knew his tenant, he has found out properties in Bristol and within the country. He knew his tenants were owing him money because during lockdown, people were struggling to pay. So rather than them paying him, let's say £1,000 every month, they paid the part payment. And he wasn't recording it. He was having a comment, oh, what are you going to pay? Oh, I'm going to pay you £200 tomorrow. Make sure you do. And people just pay. But because he wasn't recording it, he didn't remember who has paid, who hasn't paid, and how much have they paid. It took us about 3 months to reconcile everything because he has a chain of properties.
That's why we should abolish landlords.
He has a chain of, he's worked so hard to put his properties together, so extremely hard, so to put these properties together. But the point is, he nearly lost us money because he couldn't track it. And some tenants realized that, well, the landlord hasn't been bugging me for the past few months now. I bet he's forgotten. And they're taking advantage of that. So we needed to walk through his account, see the reconciliation, go to the bank account, how much is coming. Thank God it doesn't take cash in hand, which made it so easy to reconcile. And we're then able to write a letter to all the tenants to say, XYZ is outstanding, could you please pay XYZ time? End of story. Without that system in place, even without the system, you could have lost the money completely. And the last thing you want is for your landlord or your mortgage or your mortgage provider or somebody providing you services to be chasing you for your money you've already paid for. So it's very important for you as a business owner to chase the right customer. So it's very important to record your sales in order for you to manage your debtors.
And also banks have got a thing about cash payments.
Absolutely.
So they'll ask you how much percentage of your business makes cash payments. And the higher you have cash payments, that means that you're not sure about where that money is going. When you're classed as a higher risk, just because your bank doesn't do bank payments, because if it's bank to bank, then they can see where the money went. If it's bank to cash, then you've got too many cash transactions. So you need to have a portion of it. It can't be too much cash payment because then that's got a negative impact. Even on funders, it's got a negative impact when you have too much cash payments.
Yeah, very, very good point. There's nothing stopping you from taking cash payments. By law, you are allowed to. There's nothing stopping you. But in terms of integrity and how it's been presented, it's not something that is very attractive to financial institution. So if you make bank payment, it's safe, it's easy, and there's less, chances for fraud and manipulation, as Sip said. So bank prefer you to make bank payment with reference numbers so we can see where the money is going through. And from a money laundering point of view, a bank payment is a preferred method. So for those of you who make payments online as well, I would bank payment because you can see evidence of that. Even if you didn't have any receipt or invoices, you can see the evidence on your bank statement. But if you paid cash, then unless you have something written on paper, you wouldn't have the evidence. And if you paid cash many months ago, you would definitely not remember, which is very important. So try to use your cash most of the time. Yep.
With invoices.
Yeah.
If you've got 30-day terms.
Yeah.
When do you invoice the?
When do you invoice your customer?
Yes.
Yeah, just 30 days before.
Straight away.
Straight away. Yeah. Yeah. Straight away.
A lot of people wait for the.
You don't have to. Yeah, straight away. So 30 days is for them to pay. So very good question there. So 30 days is for them to pay. It's not, you don't have to wait for 30 days. So the moment you completed the service, you're allowed to recognize the revenue. So let's say you are a painter and you're painting, let's say you came here to paint for Black Southwest Network, you've painted the room, it's all done, Steve or Derek signed it off, they're happy, everything is good. From that point, you've completed the service. So your own side of the deal is done. So you can get home, do your invoices, and send it to Black Southwest Network. And on your invoice, it says 30 days from the date you send the invoice. That's when they need to pay. You don't have to wait after 30 days. Because if you continue to wait, if I'm the customer or the supplier, I won't even bother until you send me your invoice.
Yeah.
So, because invoice is an ask, is a requisition, is a request to make payments. So if you don't invoice your customer, they're not going to remember to pay you, right? So don't assume, he's going to pay me next week. No, chase them up, send them an invoice.
Yeah.
It's it makes you very professional as well, and it's a good habit. It's part of good practices to send invoices and have a payment term. Payment term does not necessarily be 30 days. Some payment terms could be 60, 120, depending on the size of your business. Some could be 7, some are 5. Some are payable on demand. Some are payable immediately. So look at your business size and how does cash work within my business. A very small business can't give 60 days or 30 days. You really don't want me to pack, for example, taxi drivers that do taxis. You get paid immediately. As you deliver the service, you drop the passenger at XYZ location, you get paid. Probably not necessarily directly, but Uber get paid. Imagine you're being paid 30 days after or 60 days after. What are you going to be living on?
Yeah. So, but sometimes when you have partnerships, some partnership with big organizations that they play that game like 30 days.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you have to chase another 15 days. Yeah. So it takes sometimes 45 days to pay your invoice.
Yeah, that's right.
And also you done the work that you have a contract with them.
That's right. So but what we also say to that is, at the inception of the contract, try to negotiate the payment dates. If you could, to say, can we bring it down? They should consider the size of your business. We haven't got enough cash flow. We don't have any overdraft to support. Because that term, indirectly, what that means from an accounting point of view is you are actually giving them a loan. That's what is happening. Because you're giving them a loan indirectly, because they should have paid you immediately. Yeah. But you're giving them, whatever policy they have, 30 days or 60 days. But you can negotiate that at the beginning of the contract to say, can they shorten that? And if they can't shorten it, just plan your time and know when to start chasing. Don't leave it too late if they have to pay you. So if it's a 30-day spend, you can send a reminder 10 days before so they know. Don't leave it too late.
And the softwares, right, like Zero and these lots, they've got a reminder. If the money hasn't come in, the software will remind them again.
Exactly.
You haven't paid this, you haven't paid this.
It tells you it's overdue, and it can tell you can send an automatic reminder 5 days before. There's a template there, which is a polite word to say, just to let you know, the time is coming up. If you can pay as soon as possible or within 30 days, that would be much, much appreciated. So those are the habits you need to have, but you can always negotiate the payment time with your customers.
when you asked that, Derek, were you asking from the perspective of someone paying invoices or sending invoices, or just for the benefit of this?
I was doing it for the benefit of everybody because I've coached a lot of businesses, and I've been in a business where they've asked me in because the business is failing, and I've been sat in the office, and they want to make a couple of people redundant because they can't carry the costs, and I've looked over and I've seen trays full of invoices. I say, what's that about? And then they counted them up, and it's 80,000 pounds of things they haven't. Yeah. And we get busy, and we just, that's back to your point of keeping good records. We just get very busy, and they just.
It's so easy to get overwhelmed and drawn into the business of your job and your skill, because it's your business, it's your trade, you're enjoying it. But if you're not very careful, you forget those little things. For example, that 80 grand, that's a lot of money lying around.
So you think of the ethics of it being the person owed money's responsibility to chase it up?
Yeah, ethically, yes, but it's two sides of the coin. You also have your own responsibility to pay. I mean, to responsibility to chase up as well. Send the invoice to the customer, then follow up as well. Because you can't assume the customer would always remember. They also have that commitment. You're not the only person they're dealing with.
I just had a very novel experience a couple of weeks ago where I got paid for a gig. I did a music gig, and the guy running that night was actually chasing me up to submit my invoice, and that was such an alien experience and almost refreshing, because actually I've never had that ever in my life as a freelancer, and I feel like it would actually be better if that was the culture of it.
Well, that's a very, very good one, and it's very common, whereby your supplier will be chasing you to send them an invoice, and
it's not common.
It does happen.
It happens.
It does happen.
I've been doing freelance work for
I would say it's not common.
6 years.
I've heard about it. I've seen it so many times. But you need to really understand, why are they doing it? They also want to be organized. They want to get the liability away from them as soon as possible. They want to get their books done ASAP. They're not really doing it because, oh, I really like the guy, I want to pay. No, they just want to be organized. I don't want 5 grand or 3 grand lying around. Because using your example, that 80K or 80K are lying around, if you then send an invoices to the customer, they will panic. Wow, I can't believe I had this for so long lying around. Someone will need to get fired. Why didn't we chase this up? Why didn't we make this payment in time? Because you want to pay in time. Have you ever thought why, if you have an insurance policy, a month before, the insurance provider will send you a notification to say your insurance is up for renewal, get ready. And they might send that to millions of people all around the country, because they have a system in place and they want to remind people. If they don't send it to you, probably you won't pay. Not that you don't have the money, you might not remember, or you just can't bother. So you need to see it from their point of view as well. So very important is for you to do your own dues and do the right thing.
I just find it weird though. It's one of the few economic exchanges in society where it is more of the burden of the person who's owed, and I feel like we could flip that culture and still have the other people see it from the other side still.
I think you're making a good point. So everybody should take a responsibility. From an accounting point of view as well, you don't want to have those outstanding in your account as well. So if I'm accounting for somebody and I see you have loads of creditors, people you owe money, I remind you need to settle this bill as soon as possible, because it's just going to be sitting there. And if I also see you have loads of debtors, which is the other side, I remind you to chase you up. So it's on both sides. So you're making a very, very good point. So moving on to the benefit of bookkeeping and managing accounts. Managing account just means you're doing your books. That's the I-hand name for doing your books, managing account. It makes you much more organized, which you've also explained as well. People chasing up, people trying to pay. You would be in a position whereby you have an understanding of your business. you know where the books, you know where the files are, you can follow an invoice, you know when the invoice was paid. Sometimes when you make a payment, you can get the invoice and write the date you paid on the invoice and sign it. Paid on the 6th of October and sign it. So it's just a record and you file it somewhere. So it makes you very, very much organized in what you do. Another benefit is better understanding of your business. Some people, some of us, are in business and they're running a loss-making business. So I have a client who was in a loss-making business for close to 3 years, but they didn't realize because they were not keeping their books. They were getting money in, cash was coming in, why? Because they were making sales, but they're making a loss because their expenditure surpassed the income. And the only way you will know that is to do your books. And you see people have been making losses. I'm not making money. You are making money, but you're not focusing on your bookkeeping. Because the advantage you also get when you do your books is that on a monthly basis, you can see where can I cut costs. You can make that decision and spend too much in this area. If you don't keep your books, you can't do it. It's impossible. You can't see. So it gives you a better understanding of your business. When is my peak period? From my record, I can see in the summer, between April, May, June, July, I make a lot of sales. That's good. Okay, I'm into cake making. Why? I had a client that was into cake making, and he said to me, I make a lot of cakes between, school time, September, October, and November. I said, why is that? I never think about that. I said, well, people celebrate their birthday at that time because that's when people give birth, because it's cold. And I went to look at it. I Googled into it, and I realized people give birth at those times. So people celebrate their birthdays at those times. So she realizes that. And these are my peak period. From keeping records, I can see historically, I've issued a lot of invoices in August, September, October, November.
And then you also know when to go on holiday.
That's right, exactly.
You know how to schedule your stuff.
Exactly.
So at this point, this time of the year, there's no annual, because there's this key project. And the other times you can take leave, you can take this. It really helps. You need to know the seasons of your business.
You need to know the seasons of your business, and you can only know that, not offhand, through your bookkeeping. Right? And ahead of the season, you can then do advert as well. I know this is my peak period. Let me push myself out there. Let me do some advert. Let me do some Google advert. Let me be out there for my business.
Let's see if there's any questions.
Sure. Any questions online?
To everyone online. Just unmute. And any questions about what's been discussed so far before we move on? Just unmute yourself if you got any questions. And then we can take it from there. Is that all right? No questions.
Okay. No questions. All right. So, give you a better understanding of a business. Very, very important. Monthly bookkeeping as well. If you're doing your books every month, as I showed you on Excel not too long ago, you can see your total income for the month, total expenditure for the month. You can see how well you're doing if you do your books on a monthly basis. If you don't do it, you don't get to see the business performance until after 12 months. If your accountant is very, very quick with what they're doing, probably you don't get to see it until after 24 months. If your accountant is so busy and they have so many things on your plate, you don't get to see it until after 24 months. That's a very long time for you to understand your business. So very important to do your books on a monthly basis. So my point here is regular profitability update and cost analysis. So you can see, am I making profits? When is my best season? What time should I not sell this? What should I buy this time? It's like, look, it's just about looking at the trend of your business. Previous month, we were buying this and it wasn't selling. I can see the evidence it wasn't selling, obviously. You know, but going forward, let me change my tactics. Let me try to improve revenue. Let me reduce cost. And you can only get to do that through your monthly bookkeeping. So there are also additional benefits to having a very splendid bookkeeping. Budgeting. If your bookkeeping is in place, you can budget. All right. Looking at the way we've done business so far, we are looking to spend X, Y, Z. Let's say for the remaining part of the year, we are looking to spend another £1,000 or £2,000. You can make that decision from the back of what you've done previously. So budgeting is very important in business, and with not good bookkeeping, you can't do any budget. I clearly remember when Steve, you also supported the community with the new with the cash flow forecast seminar you ran many months ago. Remember, Steve? The cash flow forecast, remember, many months ago?
Yes.
Yeah, in affiliate with Lloyds Bank, where they were showing people about cash flow forecast and budgeting. That will be successful in the business if you have a proper bookkeeping in place. If you don't know your numbers, you can't budget. You can only budget for what you've already actually incurred in the past. So budgeting, if you do your bookkeeping very well, you'll be able to budget properly. We've talked briefly about debtors management. Using an accounting software, you'll be able to raise invoices to your customers, and send them invoices, you can chase your debtors, and you can manage part payments and when payments are being made to you. Very important as well, the third point, it keeps you prepared for tax. As I said, you can predict the outcome of your tax. If you don't keep your books, you won't know. But if you keep your books, you can decide and tell, based on what we've done so far, I think the tax for the year will be about 10 grand, 5 grand, 1 grand, so you can predict the tax. So the fourth point is meeting government regulations. So there's a new thing called MTD, making tax digital. So that is, in a nutshell, you can Google it in your time. In a nutshell, the government are trying to make everybody go digital and to submit digital accounts. So it's mandatory now for VAT registered businesses. So if you're a VAT registered business, you have to use a cloud-based software. It's called Making Tax Digital. If you're not a VAT registered business, well, you don't necessarily need to use it. But it's very beneficial, as we've previously spoken, because it supports your business, it gives your business the support, it helps your business to, to achieve the aims and objective when it comes to bookkeeping. Another point I've also made here is it gives you extra peace of mind. So additional bookkeeping gives you extra peace of mind. You know your books are done, there are no errors, there's nothing to worry about. You can always get it done at any time. And additionally, you can put your feet up at the end of the month, once it's done, and you're happy with your numbers. Finally, you learn through the process, business understanding. You learn your business. Some people don't really know their business. They don't know their business strengths. They don't know their business weaknesses. They don't know. And the only way you can know that is through bookkeeping. It teaches you more about your business, and it also enhances business decision. Any questions from anybody?
I think what happens most, especially when you start to know your numbers, you know how much you can charge. And equally, when it comes to staff, sometimes you don't get the staff that you have in mind because you're aiming to get the staff at a lower budget. So you want to recruit, but you want to recruit on minimum wage. So then you don't get the talent. But if you know the numbers, then you know that actually you can make it £10, or you can offer £20. Or if you've got the staff, there's pension, there's national insurance contribution. There's all these other additional costs to take on staff. But if you don't know those numbers, oh my goodness, it's just a nightmare. And if you wait for making if you wait to report to HMRC, that will then impact your DWP claims.
Absolutely. Because
they're not working on 21 months like your businesses. They're working on end of the year now. So one wants that, and the other one wants the other one. So that's why I think it's much better to do it early.
That's right.
And even with funders, for those that are non-for-profits, that they'll always ask you for your end of the year accounts.
Yeah.
So if they ask you for the end of the year accounts in 2022, right? And you haven't done your 2022 accounts, that means you'll be submitting them 2021 accounts. Yeah? So it is just where we come out of COVID. Yeah. So you're giving them a different picture than the reality that is now. But if you're up to date with your 2022, you can send them your 2022 up to now. Yeah. And say, this is where we are now. You know? So all of these things make your business look different than if you just play the conventional game. Yeah?
Absolutely. And in support, just to buttress what you said, Steve, some of us want to go for business finance, business loan. The bank would like to see your management accounts. What they're asking for in a nutshell is your bookkeeping. Okay, what have you done so far? All right, up until September, October, I've done this amount. They want to see evidence of it, and they can then use that to project towards the end of the year. So if you don't have a bookkeeping in place, you can't do that. Why would you not want to do that when there's an opportunity for you to get a business loan to support your business and elevate your business? So it's extremely important. And as Steve said, for those of you that wants to get universal credit and you want to make any government support claim, it's very important to have it. Just get it done. One stone to do so many birds. When universal credit asks for it, it's available. When HMRC asks for it for your taxes, it's readily available. Very, very important. Any question from anybody with regards to bookkeeping?
It's kind of a loose question. Yeah. I don't really know if anyone else here may have similar requirements, but one thing I'm just doing, like whilst listening and kind of researching about softwares, is I'm realizing that I'm gonna need an accounting software that's kind of compatible with other softwares that the business requires that I don't yet know about, like a CPQ, CRM, customer relationship management. Do you have any plans to talk about any of those softwares that are recommended alongside the accounting software? No.
So I haven't got any plans to talk about that. So my talk today is just strictly on accountancy. So excuse me, I know you might have a different business need. However, most of these softwares are all accounting softwares. Mm-hmm. Some of them can do the bits and bobs, i.e. they can support you with payroll, they can support you with stock counts. If you have a lot of stock in your business, they can support you with that. But when it comes to customer relation management you're referring to, you might need a separate software for that. Yeah. And it's also very good not to have all your eggs in one basket.
I get that. It's, I guess, like when you're running and it might be just because I don't know, I feel like in my head I'm kind of trying to this is not the small business, and you would still have different software doing things, but they would be like automated together, like working together to kind of, and so I don't know, it's you as a working accountant know any ones that are specifically.
Yeah, there are some big softwares that will do what you're referring to. Probably not for small and medium-sized businesses. Yeah. I mean, some of them will say if you haven't got a threshold of about 10 million, it's not really for you. So you could be looking into the likes of Oracle, IBM, NetSuite. So they are integrated. Not only do they do accounting, they do customer relation, they do SEO, they do all sorts. They do project management as well. If you have so many projects going on, they can manage the project and project planning and things like that. So there is a full integrated system. So not really designed for small and medium-sized businesses. But for small and medium-sized businesses, those softwares that I did show you would do justice.
In my head, it's not even like, I feel like potentially using those softwares as a small business might even help people, because it might just allow them to have a lot of clarity in the whole thing and kind of
where you are in your business. I mean, fundamentally, there will be cheap packages that do all of that.
Yeah, cheap packages.
And there will be more expensive packages that can do all of that. Mm-hmm. And then if your business is very bespoke, you might want to get somebody in to actually bespoke
design the video.
Exactly. But that's the thing, is that when you get to that point, because I got a friend who works she's like a data team leader for like a big multi-brand company. And her job that she started at, they didn't have any thought in how they were operating. And that was like a lot of more unnecessary work for her to then kind of reconsolidate everything into a way that made sense. So I'm kind of thinking, well, like, don't really want to get to that point if you can just start right from the beginning, even if it's like over, like overkill,
It's just cost.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's what I was wondering if I mean, it is a cost, but yeah.
So, for example, an Oracle program starts at about $1,000 a month, right? So if the turnover is not going to pay $1,000 a month just for a software, and zero is £12 a month, then it's like, it's just the entry point.
You can even get it cheaper than £12 a month, depending on what you need. You can pick and choose what you want to use with Zero as well. QuickBooks and the rest of them. And there are also some bespoke ones. So like I can see a comment about FreshBooks. Those are bespoke ones. There are some software that are designed for farmers, because farmers would like to do what we call animal valuation at the end of the year. So that software can value can value the animals for you, asking for the age, the name of the animal, and it can do valuations for yourself. If you're not into farming, why buy the software? So you need to look into which one will suit me. And some people will say, listen, I've looked for it. I don't really think my business is so complicated. I'm going to use Excel. That's fine, as long as you know what you're doing. Some people go manual record. Yeah, we still have people that submit their tax return on paper. They print out the tax return on paper, get it pen, write your name, do everything, get it done. It's going to take them 3 hours. They're happy to do it, and they'll post it to the tax man.
In Italy, accountants still work with a ledger.
That's right. Some people still pen and paper. Yeah.
Accountants, the zero is like what I'm talking about.
It's the ledger.
Even all countries are different. Like what Ryan was saying in terms of having a business in Jamaica. All countries are different.
Absolutely.
I just went to South Africa. Nothing's changed there, and I haven't been there for like 17 years. Nothing's changed. So it would be beneficial if I'm using a software that makes my business look better. But when I'm reporting, they use on bare basics, income, expenses. You know what I'm saying? So everything is all. Some funders will like you to give them big spreadsheets and forecasting, and some funders don't want that. So it's all different. But as long as you know your numbers, you can present it whichever way the other person wants it.
Absolutely.
Because it's not like one size fits all. Even a business plan, lawyers will give you their templates. NatWest will give you their template. They'll all give you whatever they want, because that's how they want the information to them. But you got to know your own information.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the bottom line of everything we're talking about today is for you to know your numbers. I'm very close to your numbers, because I personally, as an accountant, as a business advisor, I really don't want people to make, little mistakes. And once you know your numbers, you know when to make the right decision and when to make a very wrong decision. So I had a restaurant manager who had a restaurant doing fantastically well. He wasn't really keeping his book very well, but he was doing very well because he's seeing loads of cash, loads of customer coming in. Then he decided to go and open another branch without really consulting the professional and also paying attention to his numbers. He went out to open another branch within a year, and things like that, we call it the risk of over expansion, because have you got the finances to do it? Have you got the staffing to do it? Have you got the cash flow to do it? So he went ahead, he opened another restaurant, and within 6 months he had to close both because he couldn't manage. He couldn't get a customer. So if he had paid attention to his books, he would understand the trend of his business. He would understand when he makes money, when he doesn't make money, and when would be the time for him to open a new restaurant. So it's very important, right, in order for you to make a valid business decision, right? Cash is king, cash flow, money in, money out. And the only way you can manage that is to keep your books. Any question online? Before we move into taxes quickly. I hope I've done a reasonable justice to bookkeeping, and everyone will be able to take something away from our conversation today when it comes to keeping their books. Okay. I want to talk about payroll, national insurance, and pension. So, some of you might have heard of payroll before, of course, and some of you are employers as well. Running payroll. So, payroll reasonably, and what payroll means is you paying your staff. So, if you are an employer and you want to pay your staff on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis, you need to register as an employer. You pay salaries to your staff. If you're also a director of a UK company, you can set up a payroll for yourself and you can pay yourself as a director of a UK company, whether you are a CIC or you are a limited company by share the guarantee. You can pay yourself salary. When you pay your staff on a monthly basis, you have to deduct what we call taxes and national insurance. That's a must, and that needs to be deducted. Of course, there's a threshold for that, which I won't really go into in depth. But at the moment, in the tax year 22-23, you and I are allowed to pay £12,570 every year before you start paying any taxes. So anything above that, you pay taxes and national insurance. You register with payroll with HMRC. On top of that, you also need to deduct pension. So you deduct pension if the employee reaches the qualifying age. So the qualifying age in the UK for pension is 22 years old. Anybody below that, they're not really qualified to start paying into your workplace pension. And it's quite good to be an employer because it gives your business a much bigger name. It disguises the size of a business as well. You're an employer, you can recruit people, and it's much attractive for young people to work for you when they know you are an employer and you're going to pay them rather than paying them casually. You can put them on a payroll, they can get a pay slip, they can get a P60 at the end of the year, they can also get a mortgage, they can get a business finance. So it's very attractive, maternity leave and things like that. So it's very attractive. Maternity leave is very attractive for job seekers and for you as a person, as an employer as well, if you are registered as an employer.
And I'll tell you what, I just went through one of these maternity leave things, and I was super scared, right? Because I thought it has to be my money. I have no clue. I've never had someone be pregnant in the company. But only when when you just dig into something and you realize that it's not your money, it's government money. You're paying someone. So it's just one of those things that, in order to get quality stuff, sometimes you need to provide the things that attract quality stuff.
Absolutely.
And if you provide those things, you can get the stuff. And if you don't provide them, you can't get the stuff. And you can cry all day long, say, I can't get the stuff, I can't get the stuff. It's because of how you manage the company, the finances, and the benefit that actually has onto your customers,
absolutely,
or onto your staff. Leave, all of this kind of stuff. It makes big difference.
Our minimum wage in the UK is £9.50, effective from the 1st of April 2022 for anybody over the age of 21. So if you have the resources, set people on payroll. Well, if you're not paying them, there's what we call lower earning limit. I wouldn't really dive into that. If you don't pay them more than about 6,350 around there every year, you don't necessarily need to register as an employer, but you can pay them as a casual staff. However, it adds more value to your business if you register as a payroll, as an employer and one payroll, so people can get a payslip. I would definitely prefer to get a payslip every month, so I can use it for my own personal finances as well.
Do something.
Score up. Thank you very much. The credit score, because your name is in the system.
What about the people that work like season, like 6 weeks in the summer? You put their payroll, and sometimes you give less than £100 a week or £60.
That's right. It doesn't. It's just going to cost you the paperwork running. The paperwork of running the payroll. It doesn't matter if it's a seasonal employer. HMRC allow you to run the payroll whenever you pay an employee. So if you don't pay an employee this month, you don't have to run the payroll.
But one thing is, so that contributing to pay tax and national.
So I think you missed when you went out to make it. You missed that bit where I said you don't have to pay tax if your earnings is below £12,570 every year. So because you run a payroll doesn't mean you have to pay tax. So if the employee do not earn 12570 every year, they don't pay any tax. Whether you do it weekly or monthly, they don't pay any tax. The moment the salary goes beyond 12,570, then the tax kicks in. So if they do a seasonal work and they get paid, let's say £1,000 every week for 6 weeks, that's about £6 grand. They still don't pay any tax. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, yes. Because a lot of people
So there's a myth out there.
Yeah.
There's a myth out there that don't put me on the payroll. I don't want to go on the payroll because I'm going to pay tax. No, calm down. How much are you earning every week? If the amount you're earning, right, is not up to the tax threshold per year, then you don't have to pay any tax. However, if you have another employer elsewhere, so this then becomes your second job, then there's a possibility you will pay tax on it. Because when you join a new employer, you get what we call HMRC starter checklist that asks you 3 questions. Is this your first job? Is this your only job for the 1st of April, 6th of April, or is this your second job? So if this is your second job, then you're gonna have to pay tax. Well, that's an option, but no, great
yeah,
option.
sometimes people ask you, they give me cash, don't transfer my bank, or don't give me check.
The burden is on you as an employer, okay? It's not my responsibility or anyone else's responsibility. The burden is on you as an employer to make sure you do the right thing. If you decide to pay your staff by cash, if the cash is going to be more than the threshold of the tax-free allowance, then it needs to go full payroll. So payroll.
No, I'm saying less because they only work in 6 weeks, like or 4 weeks during the winter or things like that. They never work you like full.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think the first question is, first of all, how much are you paying? How you pay does not matter. You can pay
less than 10,000, 5,000.
What I'm saying is not the amounts. How you pay, whether by cash, bank transfer, or check, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What you pay is what matters. So what you pay is, if you are paying somebody, a seasonal worker that does £100 a month, for example, and you decide to put them on a payroll, it wouldn't generate any tax for you to pay. Does that make sense? It wouldn't tell you to pay any tax. They can then pay them. If you want to pay them by cash, that's fine. If you want to pay them by check, that's fine. If you want to pay them by bank transfer, that's fine. If you want a payroll, say about, for the treasury is about £1,040 every month. If you want a payroll of £2,000 every month, that will generate a tax.
No, I know that.
For example.
Yeah.
That does not mean you still can't pay them by cash if you choose to.
No, yeah.
That's your choice. But what I'm saying is, anything you put through payroll, if there's any tax associated with it, it needs to be paid. If there isn't any, then that's fine. It's just for record purposes.
This is people like working like £320. That's 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So 5 people working 320.
Yeah, so some of that's freelancers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just freelancers.
Yeah, and some of them they say, I don't want to get transfer or check. Can you give me cash?
Yeah. That is fine, but you need to understand the reason being, okay? Because the responsibility is still with you. You know, if I decide to work for Black Southwest today and I say to the management, you know what, just give me cash and don't put me through the payroll. They need to really understand on what basis is that going to be. Or you decide to work for Tesco, for example, and say, you know what, just pay me cash and don't put me through the payroll. They need to understand, are you self-employed? Are you a freelance, as you said? Or what's your background? I mean, you can be a freelance and get paid either cash, whichever way, and get paid your gross amount, or you need to then start issuing invoices to them as a freelance person and going down that route. So
they're gonna interest you like everything they do that way. It's proper like that.
Fine.
Everything's proper like that. It's coming out of your account, cash.
That's fine.
Yes,
that's fine.
In terms of depending on what sector you are in, right? So those that are for profits probably doesn't matter. Those are non-for-profits, because there's an element of asking somebody else for money to do a project, then, and also for banks, all right? Someone's going to go for investments. Depending on when you look at your annual accounts and you say cash transactions, right? The amount of cash transactions that goes on in a business will either make you say yes or no to supporting that business. So even if some staff prefer different methods of payments, It is more about the business thinking, what works for it, and what are the goals of the business. The individual is the individual's own things that the individual has, whatever they need, right? But it's about the vision of the business. You know what I mean? And for example, you're saying, you know, so personally, I do, if you do minimum hours is 16 hours, because normally you find someone who's working like 15 hours, they end up not qualifying for working tax credits because that business doesn't understand that you need to be 16 hours, not 12, right? So now where they're gonna find out that 4 hours, yeah? So I'd say payroll would normally start from 16 hours. If you're running a business and you wanna help the other person that you are hiring, it starts from 16 hours. Anything less than 16 hours a week, at most times would not necessarily be payroll, unless that person comes in every day, or sorry, every month, and they're like 10 hours a month. But for them to make sense to be on payroll, then yes. You know what I'm saying? So you got to work out which one feels more to be a freelancer, which one feels more to be payroll, which one is a 0-hour contract, and then that's just how it goes. Because depending on where your business is going, some funders would say, how many people do you employ on payroll? How many people freelancers? And they'll give you money because of that, because that's what they are measuring. Yeah. And then once they see that, oh, we've given you this money because you said you're going to improve, we're going to increase your staff. Now we want to see that there's more people on your payroll, you know? So it just depends on what finances that you're going for, right? So, you know, some sectors get money for capacity building. So now you've got money to build your organization's capacity, you know, start, because you're going to have a CRM, you're going to do all of these things. Okay, now you've got the money to do that. The expectation is that now you're going to have more staff. So when they look, they say, you said you have 5 people on payroll. Now they're expecting you to have 3 more people on your payroll. There's no difference. So there's no impact for what they're giving you the money for. You know what I'm saying? So all of this is all relevant to your business. But if you base it on the individual, it just means that's how you end up recruiting people. And that's right. They've got their own ways.
And you need to start with the right things. You know, you nail it here. You also need to encourage the right habits as well. You know, the right behavior. A lot of people will say, oh, just pay me cash now and then don't put me through the books.
Because this is not consistent. This is like maybe once a year. It's a season. You don't get like consistent for this, like you're employing for this person every year or every month. It's not like that.
You don't need to.
There's different people that come into you for your seasonal, and
maybe you don't even need a payroll for your business of your side and the kind of season your people work for you. You might not even need a payroll. You might even do cash transfer, as you said. As long as you have your record and you have evidences of what you've paid as an expenditure to yourself. However, back to what Sip said. If your business is designed for capacity building, and that's part of your business aspiration, if you're to get a grant, the question will be, what's your workforce? How many staff have you employed? Not freelancers. How many staff have you employed on the payroll? You know, so it's always nice to have a payroll, but it's not mandatory if you meet certain conditions.
And out of curiosity, is there any other types of employment you can think of, including payroll, freelancers, 0-hour contracts? Is there any others beyond that?
That's it. So you're either a freelancer or you're staff on the payroll within a company, or you're on a 0-hour contract.
Yeah, good. So for seasonal people or people that would normally prefer cash in hand because they're working small hours, and maybe they're on like DWP stuff, for example, it's normally voluntary expenses because they're allowed to volunteer. But what they don't want to do is, because they're just doing something for 3 weeks, now you're going to put them on something that's going to affect the whole calculation. The university is going to say what's going on over here, but they're allowed to volunteer. So as voluntary expenses, I can say still voluntary expenses because you've taken your time, your transport, and everything else for you to come here. I'm now honoring what you've given. And in that sense, it is what it is. It's fine. They can take it cash or whichever way, it's fine. Or it's like a voucher, you know? Yeah. And for those kind of things, it's even on the DWP book. I've been on benefits myself. So
and the other catch here is that, as I said, the onus is on you, the responsibility is on you. If the person you're paying, whether a seasonal worker or not a seasonal worker, you also need to understand whether they have another job elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ask it that they don't have, like
That's
people
fine.
talking.
For those are
Exactly what he's saying. 6 people who have the benefit, they say it's gonna mess up, like they're gonna lose like housing benefit. Because you say like you're giving 240, like 6 weeks, they work, or 4 weeks. And then the benefit will mess up, they're gonna wait 6 weeks because the 200 weeks. So they very fair. They're gonna lose more and then they're gonna get debt because 240 they work. So that's why they prefer cash.
It doesn't show on the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people are on benefits, are allowed to, so I was on benefits, and then I went to enterprise allowance scheme. When you want to start a business and you're on job seekers allowance, right? And they give you 12 weeks to just work on your business, and then 12 weeks, another 12 weeks to try it out, yeah? So when that finished, I was volunteering in my business, yeah? And I could pay myself on volunteering in my business. Not like £1,000 a month, but I would pay myself £500 a month because that's my expenses for my time taken for being there, you know, the whole month I'm there and I'm taking £500. It's like, do you have a job? No, I don't have a job. But it's cost me to go there, you know, time and energy and the water, that's £500, which is not, that doesn't affect with them whatsoever. Yeah.
So a lot of people don't understand that way. So
but it's not that offer is not offered to people who are actually just trying to get a job though. That's the thing, it's like quite a fucked dynamic for them where like they are not like the what's it called, welfare system is actually, I think, quite good for people who are trying to create businesses. But if you're just trying to get a job, that like flip between just getting financially supported and working is like you're actually better off. There's like a spot where you're better off just not working, and it's so stupid, so like anti-productive.
Yeah. So that's why it's the from my perspective, I understand it because I was in it, right? So if someone is in that position, it's very clear for me to say, look, right now you're currently unemployed. So I want to test and see if this could work. So you're in a short-term thing and you're a volunteer. So what I'll do is you'll sign a voluntary agreement to say that although you are working on this project, you are volunteering. You're not employed.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you're not employed. You're not a staff member. You're not freelancer. You're not staff, but you are volunteering. And we're going to work on this. And then if it works, we can then move you to a staff or whatever. And if it doesn't, the same thing that you're on still continues. So if they go to
my list, I'm adding this to my list of types of employment, voluntary.
Voluntary, yeah, of course, yeah. On the Job Centre Plus workbook, they've got a workbook called volunteering. Have a read of it. That's what it is, and it's even got specific hours. How many hours you need to volunteer, because that's what they class as volunteering. So I just go with that, you know. So it's not that bad. But as an employee, if you understand it and you understand the people that you're working on, because they don't want to be impacted just for a few weeks and then have to EWP and all of this thing all changes just because they were just trying something. No, let people try something, because then it adds onto their work experience and potential adds onto their CV. So writing references for them, you know, all of that kind of stuff is like, now you can go back to the job center and tell them that you did this placement, you worked like this, but unfortunately I'm not in a position where I can hire you.
What language would you use to write down that expense?
I'd write a voluntary agreement and do voluntary expenses. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because everyone's got different voluntary expenses, right? So someone lives close, they don't take a bus, so there's no bus fare. They'll come in and get lunch. Lunch is a sandwich, something to drink. So lunch is roughly £25. Yeah. So the person was driving the car, then there'll be mileage. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they bought their own equipment. I'll add their own equipment onto it. So all of a sudden you can see that volunteering. The simplest way could be you came, you got a bus fare, but the other things is all the other things just contribute to time and effort.
Sweet. I just wanted to say I found out that Oracle actually do offer Oracle Database XE, which is like a free limited version of what they do, and like at the kind of bottom of it said it might be like it might specifically benefit like startups working on a limited budget who need to begin developing, or non-profits and other organizations that want to use it but don't need the full scope of it.
Looking through it. That's fine. Yeah, good.
I'm just sharing it to anyone who might be.
That's good. Well done. Yeah, just look into it and see what enterprise office, see how they can support you. So I hope your question was answered.
Yeah, answered.
The responsibility is all on you. You need to do the necessary check, know what you want to do. Yeah, to get answered and
it's answered. Yeah.
How you want to do it, and just pay attention to your staff. But I would definitely say, as I always advise, my businesses and business owners with this mindset of, as it's been said on the wall of the day, the success, dreaming big, having this abundant mindset of, I want to get better in my business, I want to bring in more people, then that gives you the opportunity to, set up a payroll, get people on employment. I mean, we're not praying for another COVID, but see what happened during COVID, during furlough, when people were not on payrolls. People were struggling because they've changed themselves in the past, doing cash in hand in one way or the other. Now the government is saying, I'm only going to pay 85% of your income, only for those on payroll. But
those that have declared a profit.
Of course, those who've done their tax return. And we've had people who've been declaring losses for donkey years, inaccurately, on purpose, declaring losses. I mean, if you were in government, would you give people money for not seeing anything?
That's why I benefit the COVID. Somehow it was good, because the fact that I was working and then the family, they give me 1 year and a couple of months. So it was good.
But for the self-employed or the people who have mixed bank accounts and personal accounts,
they struggled.
So they couldn't get the one about self-employed because maybe they declared a loss all the time. And then because they have the personal bank account linked to their business, they couldn't get universal credit. So that means that they just got nothing.
And on top of that, the loan that was there to support businesses, the bounce back loan, because they don't have a business bank account, couldn't get it. And that's the cheapest interest loan you can ever get.
Is that the 50,000?
Yeah, up to 50,000.
Is that the people paying now or still stop?
But they're still paying. They're still paying. It's designed to collect and pay back. But
my aunt was like accepting and declining them in that period, and she was taught how to do it, and they basically told her to not even check, just basically greenlight all of them. She was shocked. She was like, "Why?" And so many people did some big fraud and that.
I mean, there were
so many people also then, because they were self-employed, tried to open up businesses. And then tried to apply for bank accounts. So there was a flood of people opening up bank accounts. The banks just stopped everyone, saying no more bank accounts. You're not going to get a bank account. After 3 months after COVID, then they started opening up bank accounts.
So the merit of what I'm saying here is to look at the right thing. Right? Everyone comes up with different conspiracy theory and this and that, different ideas, but it's to look at the right thing. The right thing here being, being an employer, running the payroll, should in case, and we've talked about the benefit of that, and also using COVID as an example where people that were not on the payroll did struggle, and also people that do not have a business bank account couldn't get the necessary support. So let's try to do the right thing. It is definitely, we're not praying for another COVID, but at the same time, we have to learn from the past, don't we?
Okay. The other question is, what the age you can pay for pension?
For pension. So the pension itself, workplace pension starts from 22. So if the person is under 22, you don't need to put them on a workplace pension.
If you're earning under 22, are you earning anything towards your pension?
If you're under 22, you can have a personal private pension if you want to.
But are you you're not naturally earning anything?
If you're not earning anything, you can't pay into a pension. Now, if you
That's so fucked. I feel like
if you have zero income,
when you're 15, 16, you already get paid nothing. I feel like there should be a legal requirement for the difference from what you're getting paid to the living wage be going into your pension from that age. I feel like why?
That would be for the government to decide. But I think the rationale from the government point of view, they would like you to start earning a reasonable amount, because the minimum wage is not £9.50 until you're technically 21, so they want you to start
$5 or something like that.
If you're earning a £5 an hour, for example, I don't think there'll be enough for you to start really paying into your pension. And there's a pension.
I'm saying they should make it so that the difference between what you're earning. My first job was at McDonald's when I was like, I guess 16. I was getting paid a £5, and my colleagues were getting paid like £8, £9, because that was that they were older. That was the minimum wage.
Okay.
I feel like we should have it so that if you are under 22, the difference between what you're getting paid and the living wage for adults starts going into your pension.
Oh, I see what you mean. That's a good one.
And it's not for governments to decide, it's for us to make the government
Absolutely.
do it. That's how the political system is supposed to work.
Absolutely, yes. You're making a good point. So we just need to have you can start with a petition.
Because I'm like, I'm only finding out this now. I'm pissed off. I'm like, I thought I earned some shit towards my pension.
So what you can have a whole pension.
Not a whole pension. Not a whole pension, but like I thought I had something. I didn't think I had nothing like from all of them days.
The signal.
Yeah.
So what you could do is, with that very fantastic idea, makes sense. You can start a petition online. Get at least 10,000, 100,000 people to sign it. If you can get 100,000 people to sign it, then it's going to be debated in the parliament. So
you can offer it as a business too.
We can look into it,
But I can offer it as a business to my under 22-year-old employees.
Yeah, but it's not. It's
They're going to
not.
be like, I would rather just have the money.
But it's not statutory by law, so I can't talk about it to people. But what we are saying is, first of all, need to bring it into law. And the way we can change that, you and I, as you said, this is you and I driving the law, is to get a petition on board and get it debated in the parliament. So, next part I want to talk about quickly, because of time, is national insurance. So, it's also
So I was going to say, with the pension, you can always log in and see your pension contribution.
That's on the next slide. Forecast. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in the next slide. So just talk about national insurance quickly. So we open national insurance as well on top of taxation.
I'm confused. How does that first thing translate to the other thing?
So the first one is the one before. That's pension. Yeah. So that's a workplace pension. Yeah.
And each workplace maybe will contribute or pay and get an amount.
So you have two pensions.
I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that in my next slide. I think once I talk about that, you get it. So national insurance, you start paying from the age of 16 until you reach the state pension age. So when I say state pension age, that's the age whereby you're due for your state pension. So we have different types of pension. So we have class 1, which is for employed people. So if you're employed, you see on your pay slip, national insurance and taxes. That's class 1 pension you're paying. It's about, the government keep changing the goalposts on the rates now. Previously it was 13.8, they've increased it by 1.25 now, which they are going to be seen again from next year, April. We also have class 2 and class 4. For those of you who are self-employed, you might be paying this. Class 2 and class 4 are national insurance. That's for self-employed people. And as I said at the bottom, you can check your record online, forecast. So it tells you the age when you start getting your state pension and whether you have a full state pension. Because sometimes you can have gaps in your pension due to unemployment and other reasons. So you need to check it. And if you have gaps in your employment, the good news is you can top it up by voluntary payments. It depends. So you need to call them based on how much gap you do have. But you can make a voluntary payment, which is called class 3 national insurance voluntary payment, just to top up those gaps. But I would definitely it depends on how much gaps you do have for each year you need. So it depends on the gap. And I would definitely advise people to look into it, get a government gateway account, look into your pension, know your pension age, know when you're going to retire, know when your pension age will be, how much your forecast is, and you can decide. What the payment will be when you retire, the forecast. That's right, they will give you that as well. As of today, if you have to retire next year, it's about 183 every week. Yeah, you keep 83.
That's what they give you of your pension.
So we're talking about state pension here, from the back of your national insurance. So it changes every time.
Yeah.
Right? In line with inflation. And you get paid into your UK bank account anywhere you are in the world.
How many years must you have worked?
So you must have about 30 years, full period of working.
Back to back working.
Yeah, for you to have a full pension.
Like,
I mean, if
no sleep.
literally. But let's be clear. Let's be very clear. It's a very difficult one.
What about the mother who are the children like every year, that 10 years?
For 30 years.
Have children.
30 years
Yeah,
children.
no time, full time.
But this is it. Let's put it into numbers. If you don't work, you don't get anything out of it. Unless there are extenuating reasons where you are unable to work and you want to get something out of it. So what pension is saying is, if you start from the age of 16, right? If you are 30 to 16, that's 46, right? So that's still reasonable. However, what that is saying is, you pay state pension is through national insurance record. It usually needs to be paid for 30 years for you to get the full state pension. If you don't work for up to 30 years, you can still get from state pension, you won't get the full one. The full one is about £184 every week. It's a flat rate, technically. Right? So if you work, let's say you work for 25 years of your life and you decide to retire due to illness or whatever reason, you will still get a state pension because you contributed national insurance, but you might not get the full one.
What about the people who benefit for whole life? They go school.
So you can get what we call national insurance tax credits. Right? So if you're probably unemployed, you're on benefits, you can get the credits and you get something towards it, but you won't get a full one. You won't get a full one. So,
do they get that those who are on benefit? Yeah, benefit plus pension.
So what would then happen is for working people, when you then retire, right? Your needs changes.
Yeah.
When you're not, let's say you're in your 68, you decide to retire. So you might still get universal credit. However, the need to change. Of course, they'll need to assess you. What do you now need? Before you were getting a lot of money on universal credit based on your dependents offspring, but now you're in your late 60s, they will pay you based on your need and on top of your national insurance, depending on your need. Of course, if you work all your life and you pay the full pension, you get the full amount. So
therefore, paying people on payroll helps them to contribute towards their pension.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. For later years.
And there's the people who work here 15 years and then left country, work somewhere else another 15 years. But that, you move Utilise, you don't contribute any pension.
So if you contribute national insurance, you don't lose it. Right? Even if you work for 15 years in the UK and you move, let's say you move to America, you still get it when you retire. They will even write a letter to you to say, Mr. A, on our record now, you've now retired, this is the amount you're due based on what you've contributed. You don't lose out at all.
Yeah.
You just won't get the full amount.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah?
So. Because right now, you've got the dormant accounts survey. Yeah? So it comes to a point, maybe they're looking at accounts from 200 years ago up until whenever, right? Where some of those people have never come back to claim their national insurance or their pensions, or they just forgot about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as a non-British, when you leave the country, because you're non-British, you can say, hey, excuse me, I'd like my national insurance contributions. I'd like my pension. Thank you. I'm going over there. You can take your money and go with it. But if you choose to leave it, they'll send you a letter when they know this is based on the dates that they have to say. But if that letter doesn't reach to you, because you've changed your house, you haven't updated HMRC, it's gone. Now, you won't know about it because you don't know about it. But so many people have left the country and they've never claimed their contributions. So any international country that you go to, which is not your home country, and you've worked there, you are allowed to get that money back because you're not a citizen. Right? So a lot of people end up leaving a lot of this in the country, even though they've worked and it's all there for them.
Absolutely.
So you can always get this money back. If you can get your money back next month if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, for however long it is, but then it's gonna impact your pension if you choose to stay here for longer. So you're creating a savings for yourself indirectly.
Which is another benefit you said in employing people and putting them on pension. I had a seminar with some senior citizens over the age of 60 from a Nigerian community, and they were shocked by the amount of pension that is available to them. Some of them have migrated abroad for just work there, I'm just living, and they can't even believe what is available to them in the future based on the hard work they've done over time. So you need to pay attention into this. The first step, what I will take away from this conversation, when you get home, if you don't have an HMRC account, log in online, they're gonna ask you for your name, your passport number, your identification, they're gonna check you out, and you can see your forecast online. Just have it behind your mind and see, okay, how much are they forecasting I'll be getting? You've done it, brilliant. So there's an evidence.
And when you've got gaps, you can always top it up.
You know, let's top it up, you know?
And I don't pay for the national food.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I've been told on the lucky one, don't pay for national food.
Okay, that's a different reason for that.
Yeah.
So first of all, just before I go for that, just to support Sigel's question. So we have two pensions, right? We have the workplace pension, right? And we have state pension. Tell a lie, we have three pensions. Workplace pension, which is, we call it auto enrollment. So when you employ somebody and they're over the age of 22 and they earn over £10,000, you need to put them on pension automatically, which is in the workplace. So if you're an employer, the staff is over the age of 22 and they earn over £10,000, they need to go on a workplace pension by law. So you can register with pension providers, i.e. People's Pension, Nest, Smart Pension. You can register with them, they're all available online. If you need more information, we can always contact Steve and I can always support you accordingly. That is a workplace pension. The employee will get deducted 5% out of the salary every month, and you as the employer will top up a minimum of 3% for their future. So that's a workplace pension. You can't lose it. And the good thing with workplace pension is if you leave that employer and you move to another employer, you can carry the pension with you.
Can you always opt out? Is that an option?
Yeah. So with opt out, you're allowed to opt out within 30 days of joining the pension. You can opt out and get the money back. However, if you opt out after 30 days, unfortunately, they will let you opt out, but you can't get the money back until you retire. Some might, but most of the time, you can only opt out after 30 days, but you can get the money back. For you to get the money back, you need to opt out within 30 days of opting in. So opt in, opt out.
And the pension part, the workplace pension is quite nice.
It is.
Because although it's 5%, if you are employed, you can say to the employer, I want you to make mine 10%. Because you are creating like a savings for yourself. Now you know.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Those percentages are minimum. That's the minimum requirement. But you can do more as an employer. And the other part is a state pension, which is a national insurance. That also gets deducted from your payslip. So if you work for an organization, you can see your own workplace pension coming out. You can also see your national insurance coming out. So those are two pensions. The third pension is a private pension. So that's very common among self-employed. Self-employed pay national insurance class 2. If you don't want to pay an extra pension for yourself, you can register with the likes of Aviva, Legal and General, and just pay less than extra £100 every month into another pension pot for yourself. It's a personal private plan pension. Or you can do a SIP, self-investment private pension, if you want to. So when you then retire in the future, not only do you get the automatic state pension, you also get your workplace pension or your private pension. So some people have about 3-4 pensions that pays them every month. So you need to think about what's my future plan and how do I want to plan this. We're talking about state pension, you need about 30 years.
I'm going to send the slides.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you need about 30 years in a working contribution for you to get the full one. If you do less than 30 years, you still get something, but you might not get a full one. Approximate age. So if you check your forecast online, as I said, it also tells you when you'll be entitled and when the age would be. As of today, it's about 68, around there, give or take.
By the time we're there, we're going to be like 140.
I agree with you, because they keep moving the goalposts every time. So, so unfortunately, it's about 68 at the moment. So yeah, keep an eye on it. Once you reach that age and you start getting national insurance pension, and you are not entitled to it, you don't pay national insurance anymore. Once you get to that age, so you don't pay it anymore. So they don't. So if you're working at the age of 68, if you check your pay slip, they don't deduct national insurance. So that could be a reason why you don't get national insurance. It's not an automatic thing, so you have to reach the pension age. So once you reach the pension age, you don't pay national insurance anymore completely, and there's no point paying into a pension at the same time.
We should go now.
Finally, that is not your retirement age. You can choose to retire whenever you want. You can choose to retire at the age of 100 if you want to, if you're still alive. But that age is your pension age. Retirement simply means when you stop working. So meaning you can stop working at any time. But as far as the government is concerned, they expect you to stop working, but you can choose to continue to work and still be getting pension. Is that clear?
Yeah.
So some people continue to, there's a question online.
So you've answered the fresh book ones.
Yeah. So can you opt out?
Your pension and
receive. Yes, I receive yearly. So national insurance, with that one, you can retire. So some people go for an early retirement. So within your workplace pension as well, especially with your workplace pension, you can go for an early retirement at the age of 55 and get 25% of your pension pot at the age of 55. That's the maximum they can give you. Okay?
Let's see. We can apply.
So for the person who asked the question online, with national insurance, you need to wait till your pension age, right? Based on your forecast. But with a private pension, you can retire early and ask for 25%, which is the maximum. Anything more than that, you get tax on it. You can get 25% of your pension pot at the age of 55.
That's really good.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
At the age of 55, you can get 25% of your pension pot. But with national insurance, you need to wait till the time you're due. Right?
Another question that I missed earlier. You say when you are like using the not the old-fashioned like paper or spreadsheet, using the app, you can show anybody who need it. I missed
Bookkeeping. That to show and teach. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
How do we contact you?
Yeah, I'll share my contact number in a minute. Yes, I'll share my contact number in a minute. Yeah. See if you could help me with the person online to see whether I've answered your question about opting out of pension.
I have to shoot off, but thanks.
Okay, so yeah, good. So what happens if you pass away? Okay, so what happens if you pass away? So it's not part of my slide today, but I'll give this for free. We definitely advise people, regardless of your age, to have what we call a will. Yeah. Right? As early as possible. During COVID, over 75% apparently of people, not 75, tell it like, but 55 to 60%. I mean, it's very unprecedented. Between the age of 25 and 35, did their will during COVID. Maybe everybody thought they were going to die during COVID, and people were just doing their will. So I would definitely advise you do your will as early as possible, so your beneficiary can take your pension. You don't lose your state pension. You don't even lose your private pension if you die, because your beneficiary can take it. But if you don't have a will, or you don't have a next of kin on record, then you could lose it. So you don't necessarily need to have a will, but it's beneficial to have a will because it makes it neat and tidy, and there is no argument about your estate. However, if you pass away before your due date, you can go to your next of kin. If you have a spouse, definitely that's an automatic next of kin. So that can go to them.
So if you go to Wilco, Wilco have got templates. Yeah, there you can buy a will or and to let contract or whatever. You go there, you get your will from Wilco, and you write down whatever it is at that point in time. Yeah. And as long as you have that, then it leaves everything much better than if you pass away and there's nothing there.
Absolutely.
And then if you have any life insurance, it's much better to also have a will on top of your life insurance. So then what happens then, not to make things complex, but what happens then is that you can leave that to a trust. A trust doesn't need to be a company, but means that you've left everything to a trustee. So if you've got like 3 or 4 children, or 2 or 1, then you could leave that in your will to say that my pension and this, if my child is 10 or at the age of 18, they can access it, or 21, they can access it. Before then, this person is responsible for it, and they're only allowed to get £200 a month to look after my things. You know, they're not taking anything more than that. But if you don't have things like that, there's just so many family arguments and things that can happen. But you just need to have those things so that the bank will listen to that document. So you can write it and go and give it to your bank.
Absolutely.
And they have it on file. So there's no arguments with anything that happens, you know?
It's very important. You know, within our community, we struggle with that idea. You know, we all think we are all immortal, we're never going to die. We talk about it, oh, no, you think I'm going to die tomorrow. So it's something we really need to embed in our community. And not only does this serve a great benefit to us, we also use that as an opportunity to pass the baton to our offsprings and our families, and we continue with the wealth. It's no good if the wealth dies with one person. So if your spouse, if you pass away, your will will support you. If you don't have a will, you have a next of kin. They can inherit your pension. That's definitely available. Fine. So I think I've done justice to pension. If you do have any additional information, of course, you can be in contact with Steve, and he can provide you with my contact details. And finally, why benefit of outsourcing? Why should you outsource? We talked about benefit of bookkeeping, but benefit of outsourcing your bookkeeping. You know, first of all, get it done by a professional. Minimum error as well. There's nothing to worry about. It's done. Less error, and then any error, it can be corrected by the professional. It saves you time, it saves you money. You know, as a business person, you want to focus on your business. You really don't want to be faffing around with invoices today and sell tomorrow. You just don't want to deal with that. So you can outsource it to an accountant. Thirdly, instant reporting, because we do your bookkeeping and we do the management account on a monthly basis. Your records are with us. If your bank asks for any additional information, we can provide that to them. If you want to check how well you're doing and your seasonal growth, you have the information available for yourself. So instant reporting is there for you. It is a big advantage. If you're a CIC, you want to apply for funding, it's there, readily available. If you're a charity, you want to apply for funding, it's readily available for you. You want to apply for a loan with your bank, instant reporting is there. So you get that benefit if you outsource your account and your bookkeeping. And finally, you have a good relationship with your bank, because they know, we know Joe Block is very good with his books. He can turn around and say, can I have 10 grand quickly for the next couple of months? These are my forecasts. I have enough to recoup all this money. Don't worry. If you don't have that, the bank can place reliance on word of mouth. And they also need an accountant to attest to that information. So if you do your book yourself and you approach the bank, some might say, okay, who prepared the books for you? I did it myself. So there's a high level of manipulation by yourself in your favor. So they might then send you back to an accountant to say, go and get a third person opinion or a second person opinion or an accountant attestment statement to say, I've looked into this account, I believe this position reflects the true position of the business. So you get that benefit when you outsource your account. There's no disadvantage at all other than the cost. Of course, it's going to cost you money, but it saves you so much time, and the benefit outweighs the cost.
And it's like, the threshold to be audited is just obviously a bit high. If you have a £1 million turnover, how many staff you need to be audited? But for businesses that get audited, they get more money, because then whoever's giving the money says a third person has looked at this and they've said that everything is fine. So we definitely trust that your numbers are fine. So money makes money.
Money makes money. I do a lot of references for businesses, for loan, acquisition, everything, mortgage reference. And the bank places reliance on the accountant. Of course, it needs to be scrutinized, we check it, we make sure it is worthy. We make application to Home Office as well for people that want to prove evidence of income for immigration purposes. So the bank, we are custodian, more or less, of the government. So the government places reliance on us. That's where we have the license to operate. So it's very important to get this outsourced so you can get the seal and a third party or second person opinion for you. We briefly talk.
I would jump onto something based on what you just said.
Sure.
I'm just thinking about a right with a company abroad.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, you also have how a company can get an international talent.
That's right.
Bring in international talent.
Absolutely.
But also how immigration wants to see that company.
That's right.
And whatever that company looks like, to say, why are you now getting someone from abroad?
Yeah.
As opposed to hiring someone.
That's right.
local.
Yeah. So someone like Ryan who's into a restaurant, I don't know what sort of restaurant is dealing with. However, I mean, if we've had people that are into specific meals, for example, maybe a Caribbean meal or an Indian meal, where they believe the recipe and the people that can cook the recipe can't be found in this country, and the market is here, but the person that can do the meal is not in this country, and they don't really understand the recipe here. So I need to either go back to, let's say, the Caribbean, or I go to Bangalore, or I go to India to find the person who understands the recipe, and I then bring them into this country. Then you then need to, show that you have a genuine business in this country. You have the resources to bring them. You make the immigration rules and regulations. So you definitely need an accountant to support you with that in terms of, writing a letter, supporting the numbers, making sure the numbers are right, and you are a genuine business. That's the most important thing. So things like that, Ryan could explore and see how that can help his restaurant and his business. Finally, in terms of HMRC reporting, we've talked about that briefly. Company's accounts, 2 accounts needs to be submitted every year. One goes to Company's House, the other goes to HMRC every year. Company's House, you don't pay tax them. It's just an online filing cabinet. But for HMRC, that's where you pay your taxes. If there's any tax due, you pay. If you make a loss, you don't pay any tax. All right? So you don't pay taxes on losses. You only pay taxes on profits. So if you make a profit, obviously you pay taxes. And if you're self-employed, we also talked about it earlier, your tax returns are due on the 31st of January every year after the end of the previous tax year. And the UK tax year is between on the 6th of April of the year to the 5th of April of the following year. And you then get your taxes submitted by the 31st of January of the following year. So we're in a new tax year now, which is going to end on the 5th of April next year, and taxes will be submitted on the 31st of January 2024. But the last tax year that had just ended on the 5th of April 2022, which is 21-22, the taxes will be reported and submitted by the 31st of January 2023. Yeah. Is that clear? Yeah. It's a little bit complicated, but yeah, just follow the time. Very clear. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think that is it for me today. I love for most of it. That's my contact details. Does anybody have any questions online as well?
I'll send the slides over.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is really helpful and open our eyes. And
thank you very much.
It was like you teaching or giving that one.
I think I underestimate how important it really is to.
Very important. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you for the feedback.
Numbers, yeah.
Thank you.
A lot of people need for this to understand.
I think this is a seminar we need to run on a regular basis.
Yeah, I agree.
People need to come together and really see this, and there's more we can really talk about. It's never ended.
Because a lot of people scared when we talk about this, and they say maybe I'm going to have a problem, maybe I'm going to expose.
Absolutely.
This was very easy to be honest.
I think I agree with you. Because I had a similar seminar, and people were very scared to really talk about their numbers, and they're just very scared to talk about the finances and the figures. But if you don't talk about and see this, you don't get the peace of mind.
It's the peace of mind.
Yeah, I think it is very easy, and a lot of people I know up there will be benefiting. Hamza is done today, he's benefiting, he's silent, but I wish he could speak, but he knows.
Hamza, have you got a question? I thought someone said you have a question, or you could possibly have a question. You mean?
No, they've been so quiet.
Something's happening on our end here, guys.
No, it's not our end. It's that they've been so quiet.
It's 1 minute, Andy.
Hello? No? No? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we can hear you, I'm Zach. Can you repeat your question?
Hello. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, I was listening and I put my questions into the chat box, Khalil. But thank you. You've helped out a lot. The one that I wanted to know was how to cash out my national insurance, and I didn't think I could do it. But thank you, man. I'll be taking that out tomorrow for sure.
You had a question.
Yeah, that's what.
Make sure you get it done. Get it done. Take them off your line accounts and make sure you track it as well. Tell your friends and family as well. You know, most of our parents tend not to pay attention to it. So let them know where they're going to retire and how much they're going to be getting, so they can also plan for their future. This is very important.
No, I will do, and I'll be taking a cut for the information for sure.
No worries, man. Any other question of mine? Sorry, the speaker wasn't. We couldn't hear you if you had said something. Any other questions from anybody? It would be nice to ask questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Olu, and thank you everybody both online and
Thank you very much
today, and I hope you found it very useful. I did, certainly. It's really good to be reminded that we need to know our numbers, which I think is pretty fundamental to all businesses anyway. So thank you everybody, and thank you, Olu, as usual. And
our next workshop is about financial forecasting in a business plan.
Yeah.
So we're going to be going through a business plan, how to write a business plan, what you need to put on your business plan in order to raise funds. So anyone can write a business plan, that's fine. But we're talking about writing a business plan to raise capital. Okay? So numbers focused again. If you want to get money, you have to focus on the numbers. So
Thank you. I'll send everything via email. I've got your emails. Sandri, I don't think I have the email.
So if you'd like to see the slides and the video and any of the information that was spoken about today, please send that, and then I'll send you everything by next week, Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye. Have a good night. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's all right. Thank you very much.
that's your welcome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.